Live the dream of your highest calling. Be the hope of a new day dawning. We're the ones who can make a difference. Let's stand together. Share your gifts with the world that's waiting for a change that we're all creating. It's a moment for our greatness. Let's stand together now.
Good morning, everyone. For those of you who don't know, I'm Reverend Beverly Pryor, and it's Easter Sunday. Thank you, Laura. That's beautiful. We needed this. So, as we're getting settled in for our morning, let's just take a moment and take a deep breath. And relax that breath. We're just getting settled in and allowing ourselves to become fully present to this now moment. We open our minds and we open our hearts so that we can connect one with another. And as we take a deep breath in and release, the breath connects us mind, body, and spirit and brings us into that awareness of our connection, our oneness in this moment and in every moment with one another and with all there is. We've all come here today both to be a blessing and to receive a blessing. And for this truth and so much more, we simply say, thank you, thank you, thank you. And so it is. Amen. Okay. So we like to make sure that everyone knows we are unapologetically inclusive. We're not concerned about your preferences, whatever they might be, whatever your background, whatever your culture. Everyone is welcome here equally, and we give you our love and our open hearts. So this group, many of the people in this group recently created a new vision statement. So if you will, say this together with me. A unified, diverse world embracing divine connection and inclusion for all. And right there in our vision statement is our unapologetically inclusive nature. So we also have a mission statement. Some of you might be familiar with vision and mission. But why are we here? Why do we come together? What do we want to do? And how do we want to be together? So let's say this. Our mission is to shine light, peace, and love by empowering and transforming lives through experiences of service and community. And I'll just mention to you all that Angela wants to start getting some service projects together to offer us to do as a group. So stay in contact with Angela and stay tuned, because as she begins to organize those, it will be an opportunity for us to show up in oneness and to give service and support to our world. So Miss Angel McCoy is going to present the Christ candle for us this morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
As we light the Christ candle, we acknowledge our inner wholeness, wisdom, and peace. This spark of divine consciousness represents the truth of our being.
So the Christ candle represents the consciousness, the Christos. Christ was not the second name of Jesus. Christ was the consciousness that Jesus learned to live as in this world, and shared with us all that this is also what we can do. This is why the phrase Angel. And Angel again with the opening statement.
Will everyone help and say the opening statement with me? Together. There is only one presence and one power active in my life and in the universe. God, the good, the omnipotent.
Thank you, Angel. And again, I'd like to remind us all that God is not only the good, God is everything in all things, and sometimes shows up in ways that we might not name good, but when we put our focus on the good, that's what we experience more of in the world. So, Laura, welcome. We've already mentioned that. Would you mind, Dave, grabbing her a welcome packet off the stack over there? Oh, she already has one. Yay. Thank you. You guys are on top of it. We're glad you're here with us today. All right. So, prayer requests. You have the opportunity anytime you'd like to submit a prayer request to our prayer box. Also online at unity.org/prayer. And as a reminder, someone is praying 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at Silent Unity, at Unity Village in Missouri. They hold that vigil. Someone is sitting in that space with all the prayers that are sent up there. And you can call this phone number and you can hear someone pray with you anytime you have something on your heart, or even if you just want to pray, enjoy it in gratitude. But they bring you into that moment. It's so powerful. So we want to today join in those prayers, and also for us here locally. So even if you haven't written anything down on a piece of paper, you haven't turned it in anywhere, whatever you have on your heart or on your mind that's a little concerning today, or a joy that you want to celebrate, let's just hold that for a moment. And if you'd like to close your eyes, we'll take a deep breath in and release. We come back to that moment we created earlier where we are one. We bring our attention, our focus to this prayerful time because we know that we have been taught by the Master Teacher Jesus that we can claim our good for ourselves and for others, regardless of circumstances, whether it might be relationships or finances, well-being, health, mental, physical. Makes no difference what your challenge may be in the moment. There's nothing too great or too small or insignificant for that power, that energy, that force and substance in the universe that we name God. And by many names. In this moment, we invoke that goodness. We invoke that power. We come together in prayer to claim the highest and best for everyone concerned. And we know that it is true. We know that this is ours to do. And we say, so it is. Amen. Thank you. All right. And Angela, this is the time where you're going to share the daily word with us.
Hello. Okay. Good morning. Today's daily word is new life. And the affirmation is, Easter calls me to new life. Easter is the dawning of a hope and the promise of resurrection and new life. Today, I celebrate the victory of divine love, new life, and the resilience of my overcoming nature. Everything is made new through the dynamic power and glory of the Christ within me. I am freed from fear and limitation. I release them into the radiant light of the risen Christ. I am lifted up with the resurrection of Easter into a new awareness of life. My heart and soul are transformed by the living spiritual truth that nothing is impossible with God. My heart feels full as I embrace the power and grace of this new life. The message of Easter blesses me today and throughout all the seasons of renewal. I rise in the knowledge that life never ends. As I celebrate the glory of Easter, Christ in me is risen. From John 11:25, I am the resurrection and the life. Will you say the affirmation with me? Together. Easter calls me to new life.
Thank you, Angela. You always do a great job. What?
I'm harassing Angela.
Okay.
Great job.
Yay, Angela. We like to clap. Somebody said one time, you guys clap in church? I'm like, yeah, we do, because it's fun and it makes people feel good. We like to celebrate and we like to giggle and laugh and have fun. So today is a sacred day, but laughter is also sacred. It raises our vibration. It brings us joy. So we don't have to be somber in order to be sacred. Okay, so this is the part where I'm going to do a talk, but normally I would lead a meditation. I love your hat, Jeannie. It looks so cute. It's the day of the hat. Yes, and Chris has his Easter hat on too. Anyway,
I like yours.
yeah, it is. It's lovely.
You know what it says?
I don't.
Less ego, more soul.
Less ego, more soul. That's a hat to wear for sure. I love that. Although we need our ego, we just have to have it in balance, which is part of my talk that I'll get to in a moment. But claim your new life is the talk. And the reason I'm not doing a meditation before the talk, normally I do, is we're going to have a sacred time during the experience. So that you'll have time to get back into that meditative state then. But so all the reading that Angela did, and this time, Easter's an interesting time because sometimes it's presented as a very dark and heavy. We've just come through Holy Week, and Holy Week is a week of build-up, right? That last week of the life of a man named Jesus, and there are actual historical facts that tie in that say yes, these things happen most likely. Of course, it's been translated a lot of times, but it's not about the human aspect of Jesus. It's about the consciousness that Jesus brought into his human experience and expressed. He taught us so much about oneness and about love and about acceptance. I mean, love was his key focus, and even on his last days. But it was an interesting week, and it took us through a dark period and into the light. And sometimes it gets heavy this week. But we want to look at that because we all experience these things. Heaviness is part of life, right? We need the polarities of light and dark in our life experience. But before we get to that, let's just talk about some of the little symbols of Easter. Did you guys, I know some of you are probably not old enough. I grew up in a small town, and there was a feed and seed store out in North Town where they would sell baby chicks. And now it would appall me that they dyed them pink and blue and so sad to think about. But we thought they were so adorable. We never got to have a chick because we didn't have a place to keep one. But why is a chick symbolic of Easter? It's very interesting. It goes back to the pagans. So our secular world and even many, many Christian churches and others have adopted. And that's really what happened when the Christianity moved into some of the areas like the Germanic pagans in particular they loved their rituals and the seasons, and they were tied with the earth. And so what did the Christians do? They just adopted them into the fold rather than trying to change people as they were. But the chick actually represents new life and rebirth, which is very symbolic of what we're talking about with these last days of the experience of Jesus's human life. But here's the story from the ancient Germanic goddess of the spring. So there was a festival every year, and her name is Ostara. And so she was known to have turned a chick into a hare. I'm not really clear why. I didn't find that in my research, but she could and she did in this story of a goddess, right? And there's so much in mythology that is representative of what we experience on the human plane. But she transformed this hare And then the hare turned around and responded by laying colorful eggs for her festival. So there you go. The chick, the bunny, the eggs. It all makes sense, right?
Yeah.
All this time you thought, why? Because I remember growing up, there would be bunny stuff at Easter, and I couldn't put it together. But this is why I couldn't, because it had nothing to do with the church that I went to. So also, we know lilies, and beautifully, Laura brought us some. They represent purity of heart and that higher consciousness that Jesus achieved, and that Christ consciousness, that Christos, that is available for all of us. And of course, the baby lamb represents forgiveness. And we all can stand to do forgiveness work. If you don't have someone in your life you need to do forgiveness work with, just go look in a mirror. Right? I mean, we're the hardest on ourselves, and that's really where forgiveness needs to begin. But this is also very much tied into Jesus' story, because I don't even like talking about this because it just hurts my heart. But this is what they did back then. They literally nailed people to wooden stakes and left them to hang. And there were people, Jesus had, some nice clothing, and people were gambling and casting lots, they called it, for his things. And he said, Father, forgive them, for they don't know what they do. This comes from the New Testament text, Luke 23:34. But even in his own suffering, he was able to look down and open his heart and say, it's not them. He knew it's their consciousness, right? They did not have that Christ consciousness. If they did, that's not what they would choose to do. We, as we evolve and we become to live into, as I've been talking about the last couple of times I've spoken about, life happens to me, life happens by me, for me, by me, as me. As we evolve to life happens as me, that I am actually life itself, then I learn that I actually, with my thoughts and my words and my actions, express the consciousness that I have cultivated, that I have known was possible for me. But we have to get our humanness, our ego, as Chris's hat says, less ego. You don't do away with your ego, but you have a time for it, right? Your ego needs to kick in when you're truly in threat mode. If you got a saber-toothed tiger running after you, that's one of those things that people say. But in those moments where you can take your perspective to that higher place and look at a circumstance, and this is how we do in our prayer in unity, because we say, regardless of the appearances, we know truth is in this moment, whatever it is, regardless of the diagnoses, or regardless of where someone now is living, regardless of the facts as they appear, we can claim our good. I like to say we can wrestle our angel. If you know that story about Jacob in the Bible, he wrestled his angel all night long until he got his blessing. And we can do that, but we don't have to wrestle for it. We just need to claim it. There's not that much effort really required, except to pay attention to when we are in our humanness. So let's talk about this word crucifixion, because it's like, right? I mean, it's horrible. I had a friend one time who was going to a meeting, and I can't remember what church he went to, but it was different from Unity. And he was going to a meeting that was very stressful, and I said, well, put something in your pocket so that you can reach in there and just kind of have a touchstone, literal touchstone. And we were guessing what things, and I said, well, how about a cross? And he said, no, I don't want to be a martyr. And for me, I never thought of the cross representing martyrdom. To me, it represents transcendence, ascension, moving beyond. And so in Unity, Charles and Myrtle Fillmore were the founders of the Unity movement. And Charles wrote this book called Keep a True Lent. And in that he says, Crucifixion is the crossing out in consciousness of certain errors, and I added thoughts, words, and actions, because we can all make errors in those things that have become fixed states of mind. Now think about this for a moment. We have ways in which we look at ourselves, the people around us, and the circumstances in our life that don't serve us. Back to that, life happens to me. That's sometimes a habit and sometimes a learned habit that we picked up from someone. I was talking to a friend recently, and her husband was really complaining about doing some projects around the house. And she was telling me his dad is like that. And I said, then he doesn't really hate it. He just learned the behavior of grumbling while he's trying to do those things. It doesn't serve. So observe yourself. When are you in your own way? Because if you change your mind about something that needs to be done and choose to do it with joy, believe me, it goes much more smoothly because you're already claiming it. It's another way of praying. You know what? I'm going to have this experience and I'm going to have fun with it and I'm going to just let it come together. And then all of a sudden it's done and you didn't even know you did it. It's so easy because we can claim our good. It says the second part of this is the getting up of the whole personality in order that the Christ mind may be expressed in all its fullness. Giving up the whole personality. We develop personality traits. A lot of times we just pick them up along the way. They're not even really resonant with us. They're not really even bringing us joy. They're just something, like I said, about the complaining about doing the projects. We can be that way with work too, right? We decided, oh, I like this aspect of my job, but I don't like that aspect. So when we have to do that part of it, what do? Contract, complain, and then of course it's miserable. Of course it is. But you can change your mind, change your thoughts, and change your words, and the energy of it. We are energetic beings living in an energetic world. Yes. Hallelujah. Preach it. But we are, and we have dominion over our field of energy. And we can make different choices, and we can live a happier, more joyful, and more abundant life by the choices that we make. So in this little booklet, we've had them on the table all this time. There have been 40 days, the Lenten season, for you. If you'd like, if you haven't taken one yet, take one. You can still go back through here. This is the list of all the things that it's helping you, encouraging you to release. Because we've all experienced these things. But as we release these things that are often, like I say, just learned behavior, just something we've picked up. And sometimes it's not picked up from someone in our family, it's in our race consciousness. It's just out there. This is the way it is. You know, you hear that. Now I like the phrase, it is what it is, but not, it just is what it is. You know, it's like a whole different, it is what it is. It's just accepting that they're sometimes just facts the way they are. But on the other hand, with that dejected, well, you know, you're kind of giving up. It gives you a hopeless feeling. But you can think about, we're going to do a ceremony in just a moment, and we're going to do a release. And just think about what it is in your life, whether it's a behavior, it's a thought pattern, it's something you say, something you do, whatever it is that's not serving you. What is it that you could be more fully expressing the higher aspect of yourself if you let go of? Just be thinking about that. So let me tell you about this. So Jesus was a man, right? So in Matthew 20, chapter 21, 18 and 19, so they're talking about how Jesus and all the disciples were going into Jerusalem. Last week we talked about the Palm Sunday and laying of palms. But they weren't staying in town. They were staying out, away. And so they would go back and forth every day. And one day they were going in, and Jesus, he was feeling the pressure, I'm sure, of what he knew was imminent. And he was hungry, and he went over to a fruit tree, a fig, I think it was a fig tree, and it didn't have any figs for him. And he lost his temper, and he cursed it. And then they went on about. But, the historians say, well, it wouldn't have been even, getting all up in the head, right? It wouldn't even have been the season for figs or whatever. That's not the point of the story. This is not about history. It's about a lesson, right? So they went in, they did their teaching and whatever, and they were coming back out. And one of the disciples goes, hey, Jesus, dude, check it out. That fig tree is dead. And you know what? Jesus didn't say, oh, shame on me, I'm so embarrassed, I shouldn't have said that. He said, look, let it be a lesson to you. This is how powerful your words are. Let it be a lesson to you. So this is what happens. And haven't you ever, at some point, just withered in response to somebody's words toward you? Yeah. We all have. And on the other shoe, the shoe on the other foot, have you seen the effects of your words wither somebody? Yeah. And that's not how we want to be in the world, but we are human. And we don't have to feel terrible about ourselves. We just need to use our awareness to say, that wasn't my best. And what I want to do is show up differently. And of course, if you make amends and you do these things, but sometimes it's just a moment and it's gone. It might have been a stranger. You can still put your love out there. You can still shift your consciousness and become aware so that next time you're in the same situation, then you will choose differently, right? And what is it they say? Hungry, angry, lonely, and tired. Pay attention to when you're most vulnerable to showing up differently from the way you want to. But yeah, Jesus totally withered the fig tree. And that's what happens with our thoughts and our words. And it doesn't have to even be your words. It doesn't. Have you ever been thinking about somebody and then you get a phone call from them?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So guess what? It works with negative vibes too. Yeah. So we have to be responsible for what we're putting out there in the world. Even, especially right now, it's just it's so easy to judge others. And that is what Jesus gave his life for, is to teach us not to do that. To come out of that human nature. It is our human nature to want to do that, to look at how we're separate. But in fact, we are not separate from anyone. We're not separate from one another in this room. It's easier to look around this room and know that. But when you go out and you're interacting with people who live a different way, who speak a different way, who show up a different way, who look a different way, whose choices have a different lifestyle, they're still one with you. They're still one with me. They're not separate. So we have to own that truth and live from that consciousness. So what is resurrection? That's the big part of this whole story, right? There's the dark part leading up into the Holy Week is all about that cadence of the Last Supper and coming together and the anxiety and the fear building and then the actual crucifixion, and then it comes to Easter Sunday as the day of resurrection. Well, in the same book, Keep a True Lent, Charles Fillmore says it's the awakening and raising to spiritual consciousness of the I am in man, which has been dead in trespass and sin, which means error thoughts, and buried in the tomb of materiality. And that doesn't mean buried in a tomb of stuff, like materiality, like I have to have all the things. It's being too attached to the 3D experience. Who are we? Where are we? Can I be in a better place? Can I be with better people? Can I look differently? That's all. The 3D experience is materiality. And yes, that is part of who we are because we're fully human, but we're also fully divine, and we can look at every circumstance from a higher point of view. So today we're going to explore a new symbol for Easter. Surprise! Well, if you were here last year, it's not a surprise. So, yin and yang from the Taoist tradition is about balance of light and dark. We're not trying to do away, people say, oh, your shadow, and make it such a terrible thing. But yin and yang is about the balance of light and dark. You have to have night so you can have day. You have to have dark so you can have light. But we're not looking at the shadow as a bad thing. It's something to become aware of. And if it's not serving us, we can release it, but we don't have to reject it. If you reject things, you just give them more power to be present in your life, right? So if you're judging yourself, oh, that's so terrible of me, you're just making yourself more of that. But what we want to do is we want to, with compassion, release. It's not about forgetting who we've been and how we've been. It's about accepting and releasing that energy, that judgment, that pain that we hang on to that's related to it. So Dave is going to come around with a basket of stones, rocks, just rocks. I picked them up. I went around and I gathered them from the property where I've been staying out by the Ouachita National Forest, and my niece's and her husband's home. And I just want you to select one. You might select two. You can have one in each hand. You can hold one in both hands. But we're going to do a little ceremony in a moment with the rocks. And then when we're finished with that, we're going to, I'll take them and return them back to Mother Nature. Earth Day is on Tuesday. And so we'll let the stones take on our anxiety and our fear and our pain and our suffering, whatever it is that we're judging, whatever it is we want to come to terms with. We're not rejecting it. We're giving it compassion. We're giving it love. We're doing a little, you might in psychological terms call it inner child work, right? We're just going to let it go. But Mother Nature has the power to take this on. Have you ever done any forest bathing or earthing? Put your feet on the ground? Yes, true has. But Mother Nature has a way. Talk to the trees, people. I'm telling you, they have such wisdom. Experience Mother Nature. Let yourself open up. But we're going to use these stones as that representation of Mother Nature. We're going to let Mother Nature take it on for us, and then we're going to return it and let her take it and transmute it. She'll take it into the earth and then transmute it and let it wash away. So this is another little thing about darkness, right? When you plant a seed, it has to stay in that darkness for a period of time to germinate. Now, we've all been through darkness, I'm sure. We're all old enough that we've been through some stuff. Even if it was just a little frustration at work, but some of us have been through bigger things. But when you move through the darkness with expectation and hope and knowing, then you allow something to grow and you allow new life. You claim your new life as you move out of that period. I know when I was going through a divorce, I felt like somebody had tripped me and I fell face down on the sidewalk. It's just like I couldn't even bring my head up, But after that was preparing fertile soil for me, because then I found unity and I started putting together pieces of how I had actually created the circumstance that I had to choose to leave. I created it, but I wouldn't have been able to really see that without learning to understand how the universe works, how the universal laws are laws. They're immutable. They just are what they are. But what we want to do is take that dark period. You might be going through something right now. You might have just been through something, or something might be coming up. It's a part of the cycle of life, just like winter and spring. You know, it's just things go dormant and then they bloom. Things go dormant and then they bloom. This is how life is for us. But hopefully, as we bloom each time, we get a higher level of understanding of how the universe works. We're not just doing the same thing over and over. Because you know, in nature, when something gets pruned down or there's a forest fire, what happens? It comes back more vibrant and more healthy than ever before. And we're the same way. We come back stronger. Martin Luther King Jr., Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, "Darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can do that. And hate cannot drive out hate, only love can do that." So today what we want to do is be in that space of light and love. And just gentle release. We're not forcing something out. We're not trying to rip ourselves open and just dig in there and pull it out. If you've been in some kind of therapies, really try to get you to do that. And sometimes breath work is really aggressive that way. But we're just gently inviting whatever it is that's not serving us right now in life to come up and be revealed and to just move on. Or to give us what is it saying? Gail Vaughn is requesting to record. No, I don't think she really is. We love you, Gail. So I'm going to share a poem with you. And I invite you to close your eyes. This is my favorite poet, Shalane Harkin. She's 30-something-year-old mother that lives in the Northwest. But she writes with the heart and the soul of Rumi and Hafiz. I mean, just beautiful poetry. And she's got several books, and you can tell I've read it, and I've read it, and I've read it, because it's very powerful. But this poem is called Deep Light. If you want to close your eyes, you can. The world is hungry for a deep light that can only be harvested through our shadows. Our souls are hungry for a spirituality that allows the full range of our authentic being, that doesn't insist on our shallow light while cutting the depths of our darkness off at the knees. Our hearts are hungry for a feeding of home, a feeling of home that allows all of us back in, even and especially our most exiled and condemned parts. Our most lawless and impoverished and impossible to control parts. Our most disheveled, unkempt parts that have never been known. And have never known how to put themselves together or how to gloss on a false smile. Our hearts are screaming for these parts of us to return. And that kind of desperate love of a mother separated from her child. And our shadows are equally vulnerable and quaking with desperate desire to be summoned home. So we're not pushing our parts away today. We're summoning them home with love and compassion. So I'm going to play a song. And as I play, we listen to this song, just allow yourself to release whatever it is that you need to release, and use your stone as a way to focus. And then when you're ready and you feel that shift, just walk over here. And Rusty, you want to give them a little logistics on the table? We have an altar that we've created. And it's, again, representation of Earth Day with stones also from the area by the Ouachita National Forest, and a little bit of holly from the tree right outside, and of course the beautiful flowers that Laura brought today. Russ?
Yes, if you would, when you come forward, there's a plate here to place your stones as part of the release. And if you'll move around, as you come here, we'll have this lit for you. and you'll be able to light your own candle and take that back with you. And if you would,
You
so...
then put the candle on the black plate.
Yes, thank you. So if you would, when you come up, come from your right and exit to your left, please.
Thank you, Russ. So yeah, you'll place your stone on the black plate, and then once you light your candle, your light, then you're gonna place that with the stones. So we're giving the light to the darkness so that they can be balanced. Anybody have any questions about that? And Russ, if you wouldn't mind lighting the candle that represents the Christ consciousness, and maybe stand nearby in case there's some reason that someone can't get their little tea light in that. Okay, so just relax and close your eyes, and again, when you're ready and you feel that you are prepared to release, then you just move at your own pace. Let's just take a moment and just sit in this sacred silence. We allow ourselves to be present with whatever's come up. Whatever's moving through us in this moment. Simply noticing. Not judging. Only loving. In this space of love and compassion, we embrace our human nature. And we claim our Christ consciousness. We evoke from within all knowing, all wisdom, all presence. And we claim our good. For we know that this is the law. This is the highest lesson. For this opportunity to claim it, to know it, to experience it, to be it. We simply say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And so it is. And take your time moving your feet and wiggling your fingers. When you're ready, just gently open your eyes. Look at the floor a little bit if you need to. Don't fully open your eyes just yet. I have one more poem for you. It's called The Candles of Ourselves by the same author. We are here to bring forth our light and to hold the candles of ourselves to each other. So I want us to say it together, so I'm going to say each sentence and you can say it after me until we complete the poem together. We are here.
We are here
to bring forth our light and hold the candles of ourselves to each other. I want you to take a moment and look around the room and greet one another with the namaste, or at least make eye contact. Behold that light that's been ignited in one another. Allow yourself to see it and to reflect it back. So your weekly practice is to allow yourself to feel that new life of spring coming, emerging from within. Of course, our formula is always first get still, right? Be silent, be still, and listen for it. Open yourself up. Open your heart and your mind. Allow yourself to be present. Become aware of what's moving within you, what's being called forth, what's being revealed. And then let go of anything that's not serving you. You know what it is when it is. You feel it. It's a disharmony. It's disresonant in your body. You know. So you can stop in that moment with that awareness and let it go and live your new life from that higher state of consciousness. Namaste. Thank you for being here today on Easter Sunday and participating in our sacred moment. This is our opportunity to give